Cathy Cena here with Tri-Cities Community TV in downtown Port Coquitlam at Lee Square. Today my guest is Joanna the Medium. We're going to take a little change of pace and see what spirituality and mediumship and how this relates to psychics in general. Joanna, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so let's talk about some Mythbusters. I'd like to just get right to that. And what are some of the myths? I mean, I think people think of people maybe like yourself. You and I met in a very strange way, that, you know, that they go home to darkness, there's a crystal ball, they got some lights going on, and it's not like that. This is a living for you. This is a very serious career, if you will, and this is something that you do day in and day out. So I'd like you to share with us, what are the top 3 or 4 myths between psychics and people that read your palms versus what you do?
Well, for one, we are all psychics. We are all energy and intuition, which every one of us has. That's all psychic. So every single human being, if you're breathing, if you're living, you have a psychic sense. Some of us have it more developed, some of us have it less developed. Being able to perceive energy from outside of your environment is a psychic ability. So we all have it because you do it all the time. You can read your clients in a certain way, your other people can read it in a certain way. With mediumship, it's a little bit further out, because what mediumship does is I'm able to actually hear and see and feel spirits, so those who have passed on, both animals and people. So every medium is a psychic, though not every psychic is a medium. Right. The way it was explained to me through spirit is everybody can learn how to play piano, but not everybody can be a pianist. So that's kind of
so in my terms, like I'm in sales in my day-to-day job, but not every sales manager can be a salesperson, and not every salesperson can be a sales manager.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And so how long have you been doing this?
I have been in sales for most of my life. So I have been in corporate sales, and 2.5 years ago, Spirit said, enough of that nonsense. You got to do what you got to do full time. So I did this part time. I'm also a clinical hypnotherapist and a professional counselor, and it just, everything came crashing down. I had to face a lot of fears, and I said to Spirit, what is going on? And they said, you're not supposed to be doing that anymore. So I've embraced a lot of stuff, a lot of fears came up, and I realized that this is really what I wanted to do. I've always wanted to do it. I wasn't brave enough to do it full time, but then the universe said, well, we have different plans for you. So that's kind of how it started.
So you jumped right in. I mean, I'm a big believer you have to push through your comfort zone
absolutely.
in order to grow. And
Absolutely.
I think you're really doing what you love and what you're passionate to do and what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
There's so many of us that don't do what we're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
And we're stuck in a rut of some sort. And whatever it is, you chose this path.
Right.
But it could be completely different things for all people, you know?
Absolutely.
So do you think you have to have a special talent for something like this? Did something happen like 10, 15 years ago with you, and all of a sudden, like, you know, do you start to hear voices? Or walk us through a little bit what it's like to be you.
So a lot of people who have, not so much psychic because we're all psychics, but a lot of people who are more in tune with those abilities tend to have experiences during their childhood where they see spirits, they have them on their bed. I don't remember having any of those experiences. The only thing that I remember, and it seems to stick out like a sore thumb, when I was about 6 years old, I remember being in Poland, because that's where I'm from, in the kitchen cleaning, and I was overcome by this incredible sadness, and I remember saying, God, why am I here? At 6 years old. And I kind of forgot about that. But then as years went on, I thought back and I thought, I don't think that's a typical question a 6-year-old asks of God. I was born into Catholicism from a very early age. It didn't make sense to me, not because it's not good, but there were some things that just, it didn't fit for me. To me, God is someone or being that is loving, so why would he be punishing me for saying a word that it just made no sense to me on so many levels. So long story short, then I went through my adult life, and I was always intuitive, but I didn't know that others were not. So it was just a normal thing.
Right.
And then as I was going through a really, really difficult part of my life where I went down to the very bottom, I saw a spirit in my room, full on 3D, like I see you.
Wow.
And what I felt at that moment is something I'll never forget. It was the peace and love, and everything stopped. But it was the feeling of this incredible peace that I've never experienced in my life. And I think it was at that moment where something bigger than me said, you're going to push through it, because I was at the end of my rope. And it just kind of started to open up from there. I was always very fascinated with the mind, always had this fascination. And I ended up doing hypnotherapy courses, so I became a clinical hypnotherapist. And while working through with clients, I began to hear voices giving me direction where to take my clients in hypnotherapy. And it turns out that these sessions ended up being phenomenal. So that's just kind of how it expanded from there. But I needed to gain the trust to not only hear it, but to then be able to pursue it. So that's kind of how it expanded.
So why do people come to you? Why would I come to you?
Perfect. So one of the things that I am so passionate about is, aside from the fact that I can speak to dead people, and I do get clients who come in and say, I want to connect with this, this, or that. My ability is really about helping people become empowered, helping people overcome their perceived limitations, because everybody has this incredible ability to be the best they can be. But unless they tap into that and go behind or beyond the labels that we have adopted along the way, you'll never be able to fully be who you are. And I had to go through my own traumatic experiences to come from a place where I was nothing and overcome those aspects of me to fully understand and grasp the feeling of what it's like to be nothing, and then to stand up and then to open myself up and then to say, you know what, I actually am something. So that is truly my path. My path and my passion is to help people be more empowered. So yes, it comes through spirit. Yes, it comes through messages. But it's about helping you figure out what the subconscious beliefs you have in order to overcome. If somebody wants to be abundant, but their belief system is, I am not good enough, it's not logical, it's subconscious. They're never going to be able to attract it because it's a contradictory belief. So I have this ability where I can look at a person and as an X-ray almost can see where all these dysfunctional beliefs come from and who they're attached to. And then spirit gives me messages how to transform it.
So would you consider yourself then more of a body, mind, and spiritual coach
Absolutely.
for people? Yes.
Absolutely.
So some people in business, as we talked about earlier, they know, for example, that they need help with their business, getting it to the next level. So weekly, monthly, they see a business coach. They talk to someone on the phone that's going to pump them up and tell them what their path is going to be like when it comes to the business. You do something similar, but maybe not necessarily for their business. I just want to summarize, what you're sort of sharing so people are understanding that are watching, and you're able to help them if there's like a block, you're able to help them push through that blockage.
Right.
Why would somebody not go to a psychologist or something then, or more of a relationship counselor or something of that nature? Why would they come to you then? Because I'm thinking well, I can spend some money and go.
Of course.
Somebody else can help me do that
Of
too.
course.
So what's the difference between a person that would go that route, which is, I would say, a little more mainstream,
Of course.
than coming to you?
Yes. So great question, by the way, because most of my clients have tried that route first.
Okay.
And now, because I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and a professional counselor, those are my credentials, and mediumship is just the icing on the cake.
Okay.
So I have the tools and the ability to help people through counseling and hypnotherapy. I just happen to have that extra connection that gives me information that a traditional doctor or traditional psychologist, for example, would not have because they're not connected.
Right.
So the difference is when a person goes and seeks a counseling session, for example, it is done on a cognitive level.
Yes.
Cognitive level is all about understanding what is conscious. 90% of everything that we do and how we behave is based on a subconscious belief, which is something we have no awareness of. In order to change something, you have to be aware. If you're not aware, how can you change it? So when I'm able to look at a person and I'm able to tap into the things that you can't see, then I can bring it to awareness and say, this is what your problem is. And then give you tools and ideas of how you can transform it.
So right now we're in the moment of everything here. What are spirits telling you? What's going on in your mind? A few moments ago, before we started this, you saw a cat.
Yes.
And we also realized that someone that's here with us today lost a cat in the past. So just tell us, I just want a little snapshot before we close, what's going on in your mind right now. I'm sure there's a lot of bodies here, there's a lot of things going on, so share.
Right. So one of the things that I didn't want to share with you earlier, there's a lady behind you, she's older. She's calling herself a grandmother, she's connecting me to your father. Is your grandmother passed?
You're speaking about me, myself?
Yes.
Yes, my grandmother's passed.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
I'm also seeing the number 5, which could mean that there's 5 children. There's May or something with the number 5. Does that mean anything to you?
Yes.
Okay. She's also showing me a necklace which has a cross on it, and there could be a little stone, but I'm not very clear on that. Does that make any sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. She's also hugging you. She comes out around, and I want to get emotional with that when that happens. She says congratulations, and you're not going to say what it is because you're not supposed to, but it's something very personal. Okay. And then she says to you, there is more to come. She's also showing me a birthday cake, so there's somebody's birthday coming up or just passed. Would that make any sense to you?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Joanna the Medium, tell us how people can get in touch with you if they would like you to speak to the afterlife, or they want to get some one-on-one time with you. Where can we reach you?
Easiest way is to go joannathamedium.com. All my information is there, and just go from there.
And go from there. And,
yeah.
And you have a wonderful YouTube channel.
Yes, I do.
Tell me how often you're on YouTube. Is it weekly?
So every month I do readings. I
Yes.
separate them by zodiac sign because that's the only way I can separate them.
Yes.
But they're free. They're every
Yes.
month, and people find them fascinating because my readings make people think.
They make you think, and they can find you on your YouTube link at
Joanna the Medium. Absolutely.
I love it. It's nice and simple. We don't need to know your last name.
Nothing.
No other hashtags.
No, that's it.
That's so great. We really appreciate you
Thank
being
you so
here.
much.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure. It's Cathy Cena, and we've learned a little more about the afterlife and how different psychics are from mediumship and spiritual advisors. My name is Cathy Cena. If you're interested in learning more about the afterlife, or maybe there's something that's blocking you from moving forward, and you've maybe tried a psychologist, why don't you try Joanna the Medium? Thanks very much for watching. Let's check back soon.